With the majority of the human race living in the Northern Hemisphere, it's fair to say that the Southern Hemisphere doesn't get as much media attention as its northern counterpart. So we've decided to make a video that is all about the South. We've got 30 juicy facts about the bottom half of our planet. We'll start off with some quite simple facts before progressively moving on to some more interesting ones. Alright, so fact number 1. The Southern Hemisphere contains all or parts of 5 continents. That's Antarctica, Australia, about 90% of South America, 1/3 of Africa, and several islands off the continental mainland of Asia. Number 2. The Southern Hemisphere is home to 4 oceans: the Indian, South Atlantic, Southern, and Pacific. The Pacific is the world's largest ocean, with around half of it being located in the Southern Hemisphere, which coincidentally is about roughly the same size as the Atlantic. Number 3. The Southern Hemisphere's surface is around 81% water, compared to 60% water in the Northern Hemisphere. The Southern Hemisphere contains around 33% of Earth's land. Number 4. Around 850 million people live in the Southern Hemisphere, so that is around 10% of all humans existing in 1/3 of Earth's land, making it much more sparsely populated than the North. Number 5. There are a total of 32 countries in the Southern Hemisphere. This does include those who stretch into the north as well. Number 6. By urban area, Jakarta is the most populated city in the Southern Hemisphere, with a population of nearly 34 million, which in fact ranks it as the second most populated on Earth. Jakarta is also one of only 2 Asian capitals located in the south. The other is Dili of East Timor. Number 7. The most populated country in the Southern Hemisphere would be Indonesia, whose population is around 250 million. However, as Indonesia stretches across both hemispheres, the most populated country that is solely found in the Southern Hemisphere is Tanzania, at around 60 million. Tanzania is the 23rd most populated country on Earth. Number 8. Australia is the most developed country in the Southern Hemisphere according to the Human Development Index. It has a score of 0.951, the 5th highest on Earth. The next most developed country would be Chile, which ranks 42nd in the world with a score of 0.855. Number 9. Speaking of Australia, it is also the largest country by land size that is found solely in the Southern Hemisphere, at around 7.7 million kilometers squared. It is the 6th largest country on Earth. The 4 largest countries are found solely in the Northern Hemisphere, and then 5th place Brazil stretches across both hemispheres. Number 10. The most widespread religions in the Southern Hemisphere are Christianity in South America, Southern Africa and Australia/New Zealand, followed by Islam in most of the islands of Indonesia and in parts of southeastern Africa, and Hinduism, which is mostly concentrated on the island of Bali and neighbouring islands. Number 11. Sydney is the most important global financial city in the Southern Hemisphere, ranking 13th overall. This means that the top 12, and in fact top 20 cities minus Sydney, are all in the north for the highest ranking financial centres. Number 12. Cyclones and tropical storms spin clockwise in the Southern Hemisphere. That's as opposed to anti-clockwise in the Northern Hemisphere. This is due to the Coriolis effect. Number 13. The largest economy in the Southern Hemisphere belongs to Brazil. Again, if we exclude Brazil, who stretches across both hemispheres, then it would be Australia, with a GDP of around $1.7 trillion US. Number 14. At just shy of 7,000 meters tall, Aconcagua is the tallest mountain in the Southern Hemisphere. The mountain is found in Argentina's west coast, not too far from the border with Chile. Now, this mountain is tall, but what's absolutely mind-blowing is that it doesn't even rank in the top 100 tallest mountains on Earth. Number 15. The tallest building in the Southern Hemisphere belongs to Indonesia. The Autograph Tower in Jakarta stands 383 meters tall. The building officially opened towards the end of 2022, meaning it stole a crown from Auckland's Sky Tower, which is 55 meters shorter. Even though it is the tallest building in the Southern Hemisphere, it only ranks 51st in the world. Out of the 91 tallest buildings on Earth, this is the only building to feature from the south. Number 16. The longest river that is found solely in the Southern Hemisphere is the Paraná, a river that runs through Brazil, Paraguay and Argentina for some 4,880 kilometers long. This makes it the longest in the Southern Hemisphere and the 8th longest on Earth. Number 17. Excluding Antarctica, the UK is technically home to the most southern territory on Earth. As its overseas territory, the South Georgia and South Sandwich Islands sits 59 degrees south. Excluding this, however, Chile would be awarded as the country with the most southern tip, at 56 degrees south. Number 18. The world's second least corrupt nation on Earth, that's New Zealand, is in the Southern Hemisphere. The world's most corrupt country, Somalia, also is in the Southern Hemisphere. However, it is an equatorial country, meaning it stretches across both hemispheres. Number 19. The largest island in the Southern Hemisphere is New Guinea, stretching for a distance of around 786,000 kilometers squared. Only Greenland in the north is a larger island. Number 20. At over $60,000 US, Australia is the richest country in the Southern Hemisphere in terms of GDP per capita. This ranks them as the 15th richest people on the planet. Number 21. Nauru and Tuvalu are the Southern Hemisphere's smallest and least populated countries respectively. Excluding the city-states of Vatican City and Monaco, they would also be the smallest on Earth. Number 22. With the vast majority of humans living in the Northern Hemisphere, this makes the South significantly less polluted. In fact, there are only 2 countries within the top 50 most polluted, and both of those are equatorial, meaning they are in both the Northern and Southern Hemisphere. Number 23. There isn't a single country in the Southern Hemisphere that has a nuclear weapon. There are an estimated 13,000 nuclear weapons on the planet, all of which belong to countries in the Northern Hemisphere. However, this doesn't go to say that countries from the Northern Hemisphere don't have some of their missiles in the South. Number 24. There are 13 countries in total that are classed as equatorial, meaning they are located on the equator. This also means that their territory stretches into both the Northern and Southern Hemisphere. Indonesia is the most populated of these countries, whilst Brazil is the largest in terms of land size. Number 25. Can you think of which country has the shortest name in the world? Well, there are 10 countries around the world with 4 letters in total. Of those 10 countries, just 2 are located in the Southern Hemisphere. They are Fiji and Peru. Number 26. On the other hand, the country with the longest name in the Southern Hemisphere, I guarantee you will not get. It is the independent and sovereign Republic of Kiribati. Now, of course, most people haven't even heard of this country, let alone know its full name in its entirety. And it's an equatorial country, meaning it's found in both hemispheres. For the country with the longest one-word name that is just in the Southern Hemisphere, I believe that would be Madagascar, at 10 characters long. Number 27. At nearly 69,000 kilometers squared, Lake Victoria of Tanzania, Uganda and Kenya is the largest lake in the Southern Hemisphere, and the 3rd largest overall. The very top of the lake sits just in the Northern Hemisphere, so even if we removed this part of the lake, it would still highly likely be the 3rd largest in the world, as the next largest is around 10,000 kilometers squared smaller. Number 28. Technically, the world's largest desert exists solely within the Southern Hemisphere. The Antarctic is classed as a polar ice and tundra desert at over 14 million kilometers squared. The only country larger than this is Russia. Excluding this desert, the largest desert in the Southern Hemisphere is the Great Australian Desert, ranking 4th largest in the world at around 2.7 million kilometers squared, or about the same size as Kazakhstan or Argentina. Number 29. At nearly 350,000 kilometers squared and 2,300 kilometers long, the Great Barrier Reef isn't just the largest reef in the Southern Hemisphere, but the largest reef on Earth, as well as the largest living structure on Earth, stretching from about halfway up Australia's east coast to the very northeastern tip. And finally, number 30. According to a poll we ran on the channel a few months ago, 20% of our viewers live in the Southern Hemisphere, a slightly higher average than the actual population split between the hemispheres. Now, there are two reasons why I think this is. One is that 5 countries in the Northern Hemisphere, including China, the world's most populated country, have blocked YouTube. The second reason is that some of our most viewed videos are to do with Australia and New Zealand, which obviously attracts people from those countries. So there we have it, some interesting facts about the Southern Hemisphere. Due to its significantly lower population, the South definitely gets less attraction and mentions compared to its northern counterpart. We hope you learned something new and or enjoyed the video too. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you very soon in our next video.